Well, studies tell us that in America, for example, 80% of voters are partisan, and there's a strong evolutionary biological reason for that. If we look back to evolutionary science, we can see that we as people, as a species, are meant to coexist in small groups of around 100, 120 people or so maximum. And we're designed to be a mix of kind of what you could call liberal ideologues who want to go out and take risks, be the hunter, gatherers, foragers, go out to hunt for better land, to go off and hunt and find food, take risks. And then there's the other half of that community who are more what you could call conservative ideologues, whose neurological structure kind of predisposes them to be fearful of pathogens, to want to look after the young, to be fearful of outsiders, if you like. And the idea is that when you have that mix of conservative and liberal kind of what you could call conservative and liberal ideologues together, then the propagation of the species is assured. The problem with modern political campaigns, and this is where the social comes in, is that modern day right-wing populist campaigns are designed to strategically manipulate those evolutionary variables and to pit what you would call now liberal against what you would call now conservative, drive them apart and make them hate. And that's so that polarisation is very, very, very much a key part of propagandist, especially right-wing campaigns. So that's certainly a huge part of the division. Also because we know that fear and anger are the two emotions that are most likely to mobilise people to the voting booths. And you have to keep that anger at a certain level because you have to keep the testosterone firing, the adrenaline firing. You have to make people fearful enough so that the rational decision-making of the brain switches off when they hear your voice and they instead engage emotionally and fearfully. You need to keep that up on a day-to-day level through social media campaigns, micro-targeting, to keep that partisanship and that polarisation alive, because when you do that, you are most likely to get the most voters for yourself and your party. So that is a very, very strong driver of partisanship and polarisation today.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that overlaps with things that we were talking about earlier around prospectors and settlers. And really, I think there's an emerging sort of narrative across the developed world, really, about a tension around the idea of scale. And you have a group of people that are not easily fitting into the traditional left-right boxes, who are embodying E.F. Schumacher's idea of small is beautiful. And the difficulty is that that's being projected politically in a very negative way towards people that are more orientated towards big is best. Now, of course, like most things in the real world, a happy balance is always a good idea. There are people who will always want to go out to the world and want to drive change. There will always want to be people who want to nurture the idea of home as a place, as something substantive. And historically, most of the 20th century has been a debate about how we can bring these two sides together. But as you rightly say, the contemporary discourse is about how these two parts can't live together. And it's become a world of sort of, it's not as generational as it is, as say between teenagers and their parents, but it's that kind of debate with one side throwing its toys around and another going. But the truth of the matter is that the consequences of this are so significant that it's not quite the same as a teenage tantrum. But the reality is that scale is becoming a defining characteristic of politics in a way that class was previously, I think.